There's an organization on the West Coast called the Baltic American Freedom League, which was politically very active in publicizing Estonian, Latvian, and Lithuanian issues. And I had gotten involved with that group. In 1984, when the Olympics were held in Los Angeles, they asked me to, well, what happened was, as part of the opening ceremonies, virtually every community group or organization in Southern California received an invitation from the Olympic Organizing Committee to participate in the opening ceremonies. Included in that invitation, or among the groups that received the invitation, were the local Estonian, Latvian, and Lithuanian dance groups, who were real excited about marching in the opening ceremonies. And these are all American Estonians, Latvians, Lithuanians. So the Estonian, Robert Anderson, he was the head of the Estonian group, was the first to reply and said, yeah, you know, thanks, we'll be there. And then he was told, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't mean to send you one. You can't come. And that also happened to the Latvian and Lithuanian dancers. So the Baltic American Freedom League decided that we should try and do something about it. And one of the few Baltic legal endeavors I've been involved in where I actually got paid something, but you know, they financially supported a lawsuit against the Olympic Organizing Committee, and we sued them based on the theory of discrimination based on national origin. It was, and one of the things we asked was for the Olympics to be stopped. You know, that they get an injunction against it. Well, we didn't get the injunction. We did get quite a bit of good publicity. La Opinión, the largest Spanish newspaper in America, had a front page story on us and about the Baltic states. I received numerous telephone calls from Japan, Japanese reporters wanting to know about what was going on. And finally I asked one of them that, you know, we really like the attention, but why are you interested? And the man explained that the Japanese islands that the Soviets were occupying, in the Japanese mind, they kind of equated that with the situation of the Baltic states, and therefore they were interested. One of the things I needed was a statement from the State Department saying that they had no interest in the case, and couldn't get a statement from them. There was a Lithuanian, Linas Kojelis, who was in the Reagan White House at the time. I talked with Linas. He gave me the names of some people in the State Department, and I got a runaround, but it was sort of a helpful runaround. Obviously, they didn't want to say that they weren't going to give me this document. But anyway, we appealed. The appellate court, three-judge panel, with one of the judges even being of Armenian heritage, ruled against us, saying it was a political question and they weren't going to touch it. We contemplated appealing to the California Supreme Court, but then decided that the Olympics were already a year or two past, and we didn't go any further, and the case got settled with, you know, us getting nothing, and that was it. The Estonia had a honorary consulate, or a honorary consulate in Los Angeles since the early 1930s. Ernst Laur was in office during the time that I lived there. But when he died, I had no no thought of being his replacement. I was mildly curious about who would be appointed, and that was it. But then Valdis Pavlovskis, a Latvian, who was later in the Latvian Defense Ministry, suggested to Avo Pītiselt, an Estonian, that Avo suggests to me that I apply for the position. I was approved by the U.S. State Department in March of 1986. I do remember shortly after I was appointed, I received a call from the KGB, or it had to be. They just weren't very sophisticated. Well, I received a phone call from a man that said he was a Finnish businessman, that he was in California, and could I tell him identify some of the Estonian newspapers in California. Well, I told him, well, there aren't any, but there's one in New York and several in Toronto. And he talked a little more, and that was it. And then probably 4 or 5 days later, he calls with the same question. I give him the same answer, same routine. Then I get a third call. Same question again, and I'm starting to get a little irritated at this point. Saying, well, look, give me your address, and I'll send you the addresses, and you can do what you want. No, he didn't give me his address, and the conversation ended. And then probably about 2 weeks later, I get a call from him again saying that he was back in Finland. He was about to go to Estonia, and he was friends with the border guards, and did I have any gifts or anything that I wanted to send to my relatives? And I said no. And then he kept pursuing the question of, well, you know, where are your relatives? He was just trying to get their names and addresses and locations. And finally I just said, well, I don't have any relatives. And then I never heard from him again. And the only explanation I can come up with that whole series is the KGB, wanting to know what relatives I had and what connections I had with Estonia. After Estonia regained independence, I was working in the garden, and my wife, then wife, said I had a call from somebody in Finland. Well, actually, to shortcut it, it was Lennart Meri who called. He suggested that he wanted me to come to Estonia, and he wanted to appoint me either as Justice Chancellor or to the Supreme Court, and told me I should be in Estonia within 2 weeks or a week or something like that. So I did come over, and it was within a couple of weeks. I remember Tunne Kelam came to the airport to make sure that Meri had sent someone to pick me up.